Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating look into the world of professional dance. We're guided by this incredible artist, someone whose career path is, well, it's definitely not typical.
Yeah, we've got some great material here. We're going to explore the unique insights of a dancer and choreographer who, started her journey in some really unexpected ways.
Right, and overcame some pretty significant creative challenges, navigated the whole complex reality of building an arts career.
Exactly. Our mission today is really to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from her whole experience, give you a shortcut to understanding the dedication and, frankly, the really diverse skills you need to thrive as a professional artist.
We're going to uncover how a passion for movement, something that might start as just a high school obsession, can actually evolve into a full-fledged profession.
And the surprising shifts in style and mindset it takes along the way. What it really means to be a dancer today, both on stage and, maybe more importantly, off stage too.
Get ready for maybe some aha moments because we're about to peel back the layers on how dedication, smart learning, and yeah, a bit of spontaneity can lead to some remarkable growth.
It's a great story, really.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. It really kicked off with a love for breaking back in Taiwan. What was it about breaking that first grabbed her?
It sounds like it was just pure admiration, like an instant spark. She talks about seeing someone do this move, jump high, drop to the ground, pop right back up.
Wow.
Yeah, just a moment of pure coolness, she called it. And that lit this fire, this high school ambition to be, quote, the best B-girl in the crew.
A B-girl, so a female breakdancer.
Exactly. It was like a really passionate, hot-blooded kind of goal back then.
But her path to New York initially, it wasn't about dance at all, was it? So how did breaking this thing she loved kind of find its way back into her life in this totally new place?
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. She lands in NYC for college, right?
Yeah.
At the School of Visual Arts, SVA.
SVA, yeah.
And she's homesick, struggling to connect the usual stuff. And breaking reappears, almost by pure chance. She's skipping a class, apparently, to do homework.
Oh, okay.
And stumbles upon the SVA breaking club. Just like that. Talk about an unexpected turn.
Seriously. So what does that tell us for our deep dive? It really shows how a passion can just lie dormant, waiting, and then bam.
Absolutely. And then comes maybe an even more surprising leap into choreography, because she was initially quite resistant, wasn't she?
Yeah, resistant, even a bit dismissive. She thought, choreo wouldn't be as tough as breaking's technical side, like holding a handstand versus just mimicking a bounce. She figured it'd be easier.
Right, she totally underestimated it. But then she actually tried a choreography class. Found it so hard, couldn't learn, couldn't keep up. That's what she said. But this difficulty, instead of putting her off, it sparked her competitive side.
Ah, well.
She thought, no, impossible, how can I not learn this? That drive, that need to conquer the challenge, that was the real catalyst for her getting serious about choreography.
That's a fantastic takeaway, isn't it? Sometimes the biggest hurdles, the things that feel impossible, they actually show you how determined you really are.
Definitely. It unlocks something.
So her progress in choreography then, I mean, going from struggling like that to joining Kenichi's company in what, 6 or 7 years? That feels incredibly fast. How did she do it? What was her approach?
Well, she took a really focused path at first.
Yeah.
She kind of latched onto one teacher, this guy Carlos, learned intensely from him before branching out to others like Neil, Bo, and eventually Kenichi.
Interesting. Not just sampling everyone right away.
Right. She mentions, some dancers try loads of teachers from the start, and both ways can work, she says. But for her, it was more accidental, maybe. She just clicked with Carlos first and stuck with him for a while.
And then the big step, becoming a teacher herself. How did that happen? Was that planned?
Not really. It sounds almost completely accidental, too. She started just by assisting Carlos, helping out. But then the owner of a fashion company saw her, apparently she had golden hair at the time, fitting this K-pop image.
Ah, right place, right time, right look.
Kind of. And asked her directly to teach K-pop. Which, back then, K-pop classes were huge, didn't need much promotion. But she admits she was super nervous for that first class. Said she didn't even know how to host a class. It was just about earning a bit of pocket money initially.
Wow. Okay, so fast forward a bit. Her journey takes this detour during COVID. She spends time back in Taiwan and also in Colombia. How did that affect things?
Yeah, that was unexpected. She actually ended up teaching in Colombia, and she noticed something kind of unique there. Her Asian appearance in a region that's less diverse than NYC actually became an advantage.
Really? How so?
She said people there had seldom seen Asians, so it made her feel a bit like a celebrity, which led to more teaching gigs, even a music video shoot, an MV shoot.
Okay.
So when she finally got her visa sorted and came back to NYC, she poured all that experience, all those different perspectives, into launching her own program called The Hustle.
The Hustle. Let's talk about that name. It's intriguing, especially thinking about New York City, the constant, well, hustle. What was the thinking behind that name for a dance class?
That's precisely it. She's playing on that NYC energy. But the twist is her program, The Hustle, is actually designed as a space where people can stop the external hustle.
Ah, okay. Stop and do what?
Focus inward. Get back to fundamental movements, like really basic stuff, chest work, up rock, down rock, bounce core elements from breaking and other street styles. And the key is doing them slowly, correctly, feeling the right muscles engage.
So it's really foundation focused. She strongly believes that's key for real progress, right? Was it hard getting dancers on board with slowing down like that?
Oh, yeah. She contrasts it with a lot of NYC choreo classes, where you do a quick stretch, then boom, straight into a routine.
Right, learn the combo, post the video.
Exactly. Whereas, say, in some Asian dance schools, you might spend a whole hour on basics before you even touch choreography. She realized improving the quality of her own movement wasn't about learning more choreo faster.
It was about the foundations.
Totally. Solid foundations, muscle training, and really understanding older styles like house and hip-hop. Those styles teach you rhythm, control, the groundwork.
And then there was freestyle. You mentioned she initially feared it. How did that end up helping her choreography? Seems counterintuitive if she was scared of it.
Yeah, she was apprehensive, definitely. But she found freestyle became essential. It was the bridge between just learning steps and actually, making your own choices, adding her own essence and sauce to the moves.
Ah, the personality, the style.
Exactly. It taught her how to put herself into a routine, not just execute someone else's steps. After practicing freestyle, she could finally get what other choreographers meant by adding that personal flair.
It really sounds like her whole journey, especially with the hustle and embracing freestyle, hammered home that idea. Chasing the flashy stuff isn't the path. Going back to basics was her key strategy.
Absolutely. Quality over quantity.
Right.
And understanding why you're moving, not just how. It's like, yeah, you can't build that skyscraper without digging deep first, right?
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's dive into something maybe people don't think about as much. The business side. She says everything around dance is also part of the job. What does that actually mean on a practical level?
It means you're basically running a small business. You are the business.
Like a solo entrepreneur.
Totally. You're doing your own self-promotion, marketing. She talked about making flyers, constantly trying new designs, managing Google Forms for sign-ups, handling all the money stuff, acting as your own agent half the time.
Wow, that's a lot of hats to wear.
It is. And she points out these are specialized skills. In the corporate world, you have whole teams doing marketing, finance, admin. She's doing it all herself. Booking, payments, everything.
It sounds like a nonstop balancing act, especially with social media these days.
Oh, for sure. She has to be really careful managing her public image. Like thinking twice before posting a photo with alcohol, even though it's perfectly legal because she has younger students looking up to her.
Right, the role model aspect.
Yeah, finding that balance between being approachable, being yourself, but also maintaining this professional boundary. She admits it's tough. You can't always just be completely unfiltered in a public role like that. It's a tightrope.
And then agencies come into play. How did she end up connecting with one? And what do agencies actually do for dancers in practical terms?
Well, getting with her agency, Block, sounds like it was a bit of luck again. It started when she needed help getting an O1 visa.
Ah, the extraordinary ability visa.
Exactly. And she felt she had a bad interview with them. She rated her own skills in styles like ballet or contemporary really low, like a 3 or 4 out of 10.
Seriously? And they still signed her?
Yep. They saw something. And what agencies do, she explains, is act as this kind of quality filter for big companies.
Like a stamp of approval.
Sort of. They bring job opportunities like commercial auditions for Nike, big brands. But crucially, they protect the artist. They negotiate contracts, make sure the pay is fair, deal with image rights, overtime. Basically, they're your lawyer in the industry.
That's huge. Which brings us to another hidden layer she mentioned. Typecasting in the commercial dance world.
Yeah, that's a big one. She points out that often looks, height, a specific type, like needing a certain physique for a Chris Brown tour, that was her example, can matter more than pure dance ability.
So you could be an amazing dancer, but just not fit the look.
Exactly. You might be technically brilliant, But if you don't fit the specific image they need for that particular project, you won't get picked. It can be really frustrating for dancers hearing they just don't look right for a job.
Yeah, and that's a really crucial insight for anyone thinking about a creative career, isn't it? The art itself is just one piece. There's this whole other commercial puzzle around it. Being a pro dancer sounds like it demands as much business sense as artistry.
It really does. It's a multifaceted career, much more than just the steps on stage.
Okay, so beyond teaching and the business hustle, she also really distinguished herself as a performer, right? Including joining Kenichi's dance company. What was that experience like, especially some of those unique performances you mentioned?
Right, Kenichi. Well, initially she found his classes super difficult, just couldn't keep up.
Ah, like the first choreography class all over again.
Kinda. So she actually started by taking classes with Bo, whose style was somewhat similar, but maybe a bit more accessible for her at that point. Then, as she got more confident, she went back to Kenichi's class.
And it clicked the second time.
Yeah, she found she could finally grasp his really intricate movements. And they apparently connected over a shared interest, photography of all things.
Yeah.
And Kenichi just invited her to join his company directly. No big formal audition.
Wow. So tell me about the pressure for those performances, especially that one you mentioned with no music at all. What was that like?
Immense. The pressure was just immense. She described it like if you say one wrong word, meaning any tiny misstep, any deviation in the count or the movement, it was immediately obvious.
Nowhere to hide.
Exactly. No music, no beat to cover anything up, just silence and movement. It was incredibly demanding, pushed everyone to their absolute limits. The rehearsals sound like they were pretty crazy to achieve that level of precision.
I can only imagine. So she also started choreographing her own pieces for showcases and things. How is choreographing for a big stage show different from just making up steps for a drop-in class? What's the shift in thinking?
It's quite different. For a showcase, her focus shifts entirely to the overall effect, the big picture, the presentation for an audience.
Right, how it looks from afar.
Exactly. So she tends to choreograph simpler, larger framed movements, things that are easier for a whole group to do together in unison, cleanly.
Yeah.
It creates a stronger visual impact.
Compared to her regular classes.
Yeah, at her drop-in classes, she can get into more detailed, nuanced movements, stuff that's maybe more about individual learning and feeling the subtleties rather than just the big visual splash.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the dreaded creator's block? Every creative person faces it. How does she push through, especially with deadlines?
Honestly, a lot of it sounds like sheer necessity.
Yeah.
Deadlines looming, having to create choreography literally the day before a class sometimes.
Oh, pressure cooker.
Yeah. But her process is really tied to the music. She has to feel a personal connection, she says, where her body subconsciously moves. She looks for songs that have a kind of natural story arc.
Like a beginning, middle, end.
Exactly. An intro, a build-up, a climax, an outro. Almost like a little film score. If the song gives her that structure, that story, the choreography seems to flow from there.
That's fascinating. And finally, how has doing her own choreography changed how she dances herself or how she understands other people's choreography?
Oh, she says it has definitely changed her whole perspective. Massively.
Wow, so.
Before, when she was just learning, she saw the moves as just steps to memorize. Sequence A, sequence B.
Right.
But now, as a choreographer herself, she understands the logic behind the choices. Why did they pick that move? How are they hearing the music differently? Why transition that way?
Ah, seeing the architecture behind it?
Precisely. It allows her to learn the choreographer's thinking, she says, not just mimic the steps. It's a much deeper level of understanding, moving from just being a recipient to actually engaging with the creative process itself.
That transformation really highlights the power of moving from just doing something to actually creating it yourself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It unlocks a whole new layer of comprehension and, I think, appreciation for the art form.
So today we've really taken a deep dive into an artist's journey that kind of defies expectations, doesn't it? Moving from these accidental discoveries to really intentional mastery.
Yeah, we've seen how that competitive spirit can flip challenges into opportunities. We've seen how critical foundational training really is, the basics, and that whole entrepreneurial hustle that goes on behind the scenes of a creative career.
From the raw energy of breaking, that initial spark, all the way to the intricate storytelling you can do with choreography. Her path is such a great reminder that passion, when you combine it with smart practice and, a willingness to understand the bigger picture, it can lead to incredible growth.
And maybe the most powerful takeaway, honestly, for anyone listening, whatever field you're in, is her idea of using your brain more when you practice or learn.
Right.
Her biggest advice for beginners was Get that earlier awareness to use your brain when dancing. She reckons it makes practice literally 2 times more effective. And linked to that, don't be afraid to watch yourself back.
Even if it's painful at first.
Especially then. Her line was great. You watch it, you won't be ugly later.
Yeah.
Because you see exactly what needs fixing. You understand your own movement flaws and strengths. It's about conscious learning.
Which really prompts a question for you listening. In your own pursuits, whatever they are, where might you just be, going through the motions? And where could applying a more conscious, thoughtful approach that using your brain idea unlock maybe significant, maybe even that twofold progress?
Yeah, really think about that. What does it mean for you to not just do something, but to truly understand it, the logic behind it, the intention, the broader context? How much more could you potentially gain if you approached your own learning, your own craft, with that kind of thoughtful engagement?
Something to definitely chew on. Keep those insights flowing, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.